See, there's loads of people in there. Obviously, everybody's mad keen for the first day back, you know what I mean? I taught for 3 years in a country comprehensive school, and I've been here, this is my 5th year. I want to try and get better at this because I think that each class is so different. Even teaching a similar lesson to a different group of pupils, as we all know, can be a completely different experience because the misconceptions that some of them hold will be completely different from the misconceptions that others will hold. Now, what we said was that last term, what topics did we do last term? Yeah. We did the Romans, okay? And see in the room, where were the Romans? Yeah? They were outside. Right? So the Romans were down near the toilet, weren't they? Yeah? So the Romans were here. Now what was here? Can you remember? Yeah? Medieval times, okay? So it's about a class width away from the Romans. What would a village have looked like 1,000 years ago? What would it have had? Or what would it not have had? Thatched houses, okay. And this is a farmer, yeah? Yeah. Okay. Now that's interesting. So how do we know they had no factories?
Because factories work on fields and electrical things, they're much more modern.
You're using that idea of well, they didn't have electricity, so... Okay, brilliant job. Brilliant job. A lot of them did mention about the farming, which was good, so we know that it's pre-industrial. But I think for many of them, we are starting at the very beginning, really. But I think it's very useful to know that, and very useful to know the misconceptions that they're carrying into it for the future planning that it'll do.
Well, I want to know how they lived, their lifestyle. Quite interested in whether they had any wars.
I don't know what it's about, so I want to learn more about it.
I have no idea.
I was looking forward to the Battle of the Hastings because I think it was in 1066 that it happened.
Right, Saturday morning, Alison sort of sent me out to get some stuff for dinner tonight, and so just going to head round the corner to a little market. All right, how are you? Can I have one of these, please? How much is that, sir? Brilliant. I mean, the class themselves, it's a real wide ability range, and in a way that makes it really exciting because I think it makes it a challenge, but it's a good thing because I think one of the big things that you always worry about is these pupils who are chronologically lost, I think, and this idea of when they're 30 or when they're 40 or when they're 60, what will they remember about history, and that idea about about change and continuity and stuff.
Good morning, I'm Chris Calpin. I come to see Reuben Moore.
I'm really looking forward to talking to Chris about how we can kind of build in this idea of comparing across and between periods.
Hey Chris, how are you?
Hi Reuben.
Good to see you.
Nice to see you.
Nice to meet you. Thanks very, very much for coming in. One of the sort of big things that we'd like to look at is, I think sometimes, any scheme of work is this idea that it's very atomised, you know what I mean, that we kind of go from one thing to the next.
Yes.
And so it'd be really interested if you could look at kind of maybe help us sort of map on the themes and also the kind of chronology issue, I think, as well.
Let's talk about the themes then, first of all. If you actually look at the topics that you do, they really come down to, who's ruling, lives of ordinary people.
Yep.
There's a lot of war.
History's full of war, but I mean, there's a war thing going on.
And also this power idea that we were going for as well, this idea of religion being, in a sense, a structure of power or in conflict with power.
In any historical study that you do, you either emphasise the now and the depth, and you've got to really work hard at making sure that you get the theme in, or you work hard on the theme, in which case people are really good at understanding power, but they're missing out on the links across within a particular time. I think it's what you refer to when you're teaching. Maybe you're starting on Charles I's problems. What problems did they have in medieval times? Do you think those problems are still going to be around? So we're we're emphasising it's part of a continuing story.
Yeah. Because I think we do emphasise that, but I think it's more informally, and I think that's the sort of thing we need to make that
yes,
more.
It could be played up.
Yeah, we need
a bit more. For kids for whom this is all a bit baffling.
Yeah.
Reference back, I think, is helpful. Reminder and so on. But also for the most able, it's probably it's in seeing the huge picture.
Well, it's going to be.
It's going to really be exciting for your gifted and talented.
And they'll
students.
get them to compare across periods.
I
think one of the things that we do look at, that sort of little starter, if you were going to draw a picture of the medieval village, what would it look like? And that was something that, again, I wanted
similarities and differences now.
Yeah, I wanted to draw out those misconceptions, maybe, or at least to even see what medieval have they done, for instance.
I think it's very interesting to start with misconceptions. I think we I don't know, maybe you do, but I think we don't often understand enough about what kids don't know and get wrong. We're talking about chronology and sense of period. Little anachronism quizzes and games can be quite fun.
So those time tunnel exercises.
Quick 5-minute things to make sure they come out of it with a sense of period. The Key Stage 3 course that you've got does analyse through your scheme of work very clearly the different skills that you intend each unit to develop. It looks, if I may say, a little bit thin on interpretation in Year 7. Yeah. Is this because you see it as difficult and wanting to bring it in later, or?
I think it is very complex thing, because again, I think it links with chronology. When I've seen it done in other places, you're just going, right, well, read that, that's the knowledge-y bit. Now do the interpretation, and I think it's a little bit of hoop jumping in a sense. We can get them to level 7. If we do certain things. But it's the big thing that screams out with me about the levels is the growing independence of pupils. And the true test of that is them being able to replicate it in other situations. And that idea of the conscious reflection on the past. So I've just come up out of a meeting there with Chris. So I think we're passed, I'm not sure. Hopefully, but it was very, very interesting. I think it's brilliant to talk to somebody like that who has a real insight into the whole thing. I think sometimes you get a bit caught kind of sort of in the trenches, as it were, kind of, and not being able to see the overview type thing. What I'd like us to do, we're going to decide if we think that it was true or we think that it was false. Okay? Now the first one, I'd have said, was going to be fairly straightforward. Okay, Tony Blair was alive in medieval times. So let's just see, if he goes across here, Tony Blair was alive in medieval times. Do I think that's true or false? It was false. So everybody agrees that Tony Blair wasn't alive in medieval times. How do I know it's false?
Nobody's ever lived up to 1,000 years.
Exactly, it wouldn't mean he'd be over 1,000 years old, he'd be 1,050 or whatever, or 55, whatever. So we definitely know that he wasn't alive in medieval times, so that's false. The king decided everything that happened in the country. Do you think that's true? Or false? That's actually true. Now, does the king or queen decide everything that happens today? So how is today different from medieval times? Who decides now? The Prime Minister? Okay. Oh, hold on. So what have we done here? So the king... Ah, right. So there's a bit of a link between these two. So have a wee look, and then discuss it, and then I want at least 4 written down. True or false exercise I was doing. I mean, ultimately they were going, well, what knowledge would they draw on to do that? And in a sense, I think maybe doing that as a whole class exercise would have been better.
I don't actually like the fact that we do a lot of things on sheets. When we don't have to use our books, it's much more enjoyable.
If we don't understand something, he tells us again until we understand it.
He helps us more, like in a funny way.
I like mixed activities like role plays and drama.
One of the things that is difficult for children is just the mass of history. It's just the sheer volume of what happened in the past, and trying, in a sense, because I think it is what history does for them, to sense their own place in that, because it's part of that establishment of identity.
I think that's absolutely crucial, because in so many of the lessons the question comes up, what's the point, why is this relevant to me? It's not something I experienced last year on my training so much, but really here in Lambton they question everything, which is fantastic, but what's the point, miss? Why am I learning this?
What we have to be really careful of is about actually losing the story of the past.
Yes.
Not necessarily because it makes great history, but it makes great history for the kids, that gets them motivated and interested.
Also having a sense of where this fits into the big picture is a motivating and it makes their knowledge secure.
Maybe what we should think of doing is just doing a big overall picture initially of different periods in history, because I think that they find it very difficult to fit in what they begin to study into where things have happened.
Would you also think about taking them out of the chronological process and then moving them into a more thematic thing? So the idea of who ruled, and then looking at the change in the way that people were ruled from monarchy through to democracy.
As a schools history project guy, I'm going to be saying that's the kind of thing that I think makes really interesting stories, but I'm very aware, having taught SHP course, that if you do create long themes, you've got to be aware of the crisscrossing legs. I mean, we're saying being very good at the trog through time, but if you start to bust that open a bit, then you're going to have to find moments where you need to refer across.
One of the key things, for instance, that will come out of it and that will affect certainly my practice and the practice of the department is this idea of referring forward and back all the time, and perhaps doing that in a more structured or just a more structured way, really. I think one of the key things with it is that we need to see the year 7 or the key stage as a theme altogether, and that the pupils can know where they're going, not just within a particular inquiry, but moving much further into the next year, for instance. So I think that's one of the key things. I think the other thing that I think is interesting about it is this idea of developing certain things and picking up the big ideas, for instance, like the social, the effect of power, the effect of religion, and the issue of empire. So that's a thing.
Well, this is Q. We live in a house that we would love to buy, but we can't afford it. But it's really good for sort of transport and stuff like that. And that's really this. And here we are. This is our house.
Hello.
Alison's doing the cooking because...
See, Ruben, I quite like cooking. Ruben doesn't mind doing the washing up, so it works quite well. I do the cooking, he does the washing up. And we're both happy enough with that, I think.
And generally I kind of just linger and look awkward now. That's really what happens. I just think sometimes it'd be very difficult coming home if we're both teachers. It would be like, oh, this happened to this. I know it'd be a nightmare, and I kind of think, you need someone to sort of say, well, no, there is another world out there type thing.
We're all sat round a big table today because we're all historians. That's right. The key question that we'll have at the minute is, why is it difficult to find out what life was like in a medieval village?
To kind of wild and woolly.
Yeah.
Because it's got 17 words.
Yeah. I want you to read who you are very carefully. Does it say villain? Yeah, I think they were all a bit disappointed that they weren't gangsters. Yeah.
It's a really nice evening.
No, it's lovely.
Nice to go for a bit of a walk.
I have A-level reports to write.
You have what?
I have A-level reports to write. They're meant to be done yesterday.